A couple weeks ago, I made this video about the Detective Pikachu movie from 2019 and how it's a genuinely really good movie. It has a solid plot, good visuals, great world building, and is overall a really solid adaptation of the games. But after I made that video, it had me wondering, how come it took until 2019 to get a movie based off of one of Nintendo's most popular IPs? I mean, they have some of the biggest fictional characters of all time under their belt. Why not make more movies? And then I remembered that there was a time a while back, long before the terms edging or skibbity ever got close to the English dictionary, when Nintendo did try adapting one of their IPs to the big screen. And it did not go well. This is maybe one of the most infamous movies of all time, but people who made it want you to forget that it ever happened. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. Nope, not that one. That one. Yep, that's right. Before the much better and much more highly regarded The Super Mario Bros. Movie came out last year, Nintendo released Super Mario Bros. In 1993. And it did not go well. There are horror stories from the set of this movie, horror stories from a reception of this movie, and horror stories from the legacy of this movie moving forward. So after making my Detective Pikachu video, I started to wonder, was the original
Super Mario Bros.
Movie really that bad? Could the original be even better than the new one? Did everyone just overreact when it was first released? What if it's actually good? There was only one way to find out. I would have to look back and watch. In 1993, Nintendo and Leitmotiv released the first ever movie based off of a video game. Super Mario Bros. Cool? Cool. Now whether you're into Mario or you're into movies or both, you know this movie. Infamous doesn't even begin to describe it. It's known for its shitty production, shitty reception, and shitty influence on the movie industry. But what about the movie itself? Is it any good? Oh no. The movie opens 65 million years ago, back when the dinosaurs were still dinosauring. There's this voiceover by Mario explaining that 65 million years ago a meteor hit Manhattan. It didn't, killing all the dinosaurs but also opening a portal to another dimension where the surviving dinosaurs went to, and over time they evolved into intelligent, human-like beings. Ma'am, this is Super Mario. If this sounds completely different to the games to you, that's because it is, and you better get used to it because that's what this movie does best. Cut to 20 years later, still in New York, where we finally get to meet the Super Mario Brothers. Mario, played by Bob Hoskins, and Luigi, played by John Leguizamo. I really like the casting of Bob Hoskins as Mario. He really suits the character. But John Leguizamo as Luigi feels so weird to me. Like, why is Luigi buff? I get that this was back when Luigi as a character was like 10 years old, so he was much more of a blank slate and his scrunkly little man persona hadn't really been established yet, but still, looking back at this just feels so weird. That being said, I do still genuinely like Luigi in this movie, especially his dynamic with Mario. They have this bickering buddy cop vibe to them, but it never feels malicious and it does feel like they genuinely care about each other. They even got a couple of laughs out of me.
Hey, go on, pick a direction. Any direction you like. Hey, that looks good. Over there, huh? That's it. Let's die there.
They own a plumbing business, which you can tell based off of the plungers hanging on their wall. Because they're plumbers. And they get a call to a job only to arrive there to find that a rival plumbing business, Scapelli's, got to it first. And then we're introduced to Daisy, played by Samantha Mathis, who is also having to deal with Scapelli. And yes, this is supposed to be Princess Daisy from the games. Just go with it. Scapelli tells her that she has to move her dig site so that his boys can get back to work, and when she declines, he does this.
You know, a lot of girls have been going missing in Brooklyn lately. I'd be careful.
This is why we pick the fucking bear! Daisy leaves, hopefully to report this man to some kind of government agency, and then she bumps into Mario and Luigi. Mario pushes Luigi to ask her out, and then in the most Luigi move Luigi pulls in this movie, he fumbles horrifically.
Well, you know, we got a van.
It's nice.
I eat dirt.
But Daisy's kind of into that, so she agrees. Later, they have a little double date with Mario and his girlfriend, Daniela? Who the fuck is Daniela? Daisy tells them about how she was abandoned as a kid and how all she has left of her parents is this necklace with a rock on it. Then Luigi tells her about how he didn't know his parents either and how Mario basically raised him.
He's been my mother my whole life.
Hey,
Luigi and Daisy leave to go to her dig site while Mario walks Daniela home, just for her to be fucking kidnapped? Jesus Christ. Then things get even worse because a couple of guys, obviously in Scapelli uniforms, sabotage Daisy's dig site, flooding it. Luigi gets Mario, who is way too intense about this whole thing.
strap your belt on, kid. We're going in.
And they rush down to stop the flooding, only to be taken the fuck out by the people who kidnapped Daniela, who then kidnapped Daisy. By the way, these two work for President Koopa, this movie's version of Bowser, and just in case you couldn't tell, for some reason, they're supposed to be Iggy and Spike. Iggy and Spike drag Daisy through a portal which leads to the alternate dimensions version of Manhattan, Dino-Hatton, which is also this movie's version of the Mushroom Kingdom. And look, the obvious low-hanging fruit is for me to dog on the movie for having this be its version of the Mushroom Kingdom, which would be fully justified, but in all fairness, the set work here isn't bad, and I really do like the dystopian vibe. I don't think that this in and of itself is bad, it's just kinda hard to appreciate because this is supposed to be a Mario movie. Like, this is a Mario game that was out at the time, and this is the movie that they made. This is a pretty consistent issue throughout the movie. There are some genuinely really cool pieces of filmmaking, like this fucking brilliant puppet that was groundbreaking for the time. And at first you think this is pretty cool, and then you realize this is supposed to be Yoshi. You know, this guy, Yoshi. What the fuck happened to your skincare routine? Which is honestly such a shame because I feel like there's such a hesitation around enjoying this movie, even though I feel like it has the potential to be a cult classic without the ties to Mario. And if you're like me wondering how Nintendo ever let this happen, it turns out they basically just gave away the keys to the IP without really supervising what was done with it, leading to Leitmotiv picking up the rights and giving the movie to directing couple Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morton. Now there are all kinds of horror stories about how unprofessional and even abusive these guys were on set. Reportedly, at some point in production, Rocky Morton didn't like the look of one of the extras' costumes and he poured coffee on them, only for the coffee to seep through the costume and scald them. And afterwards he was reported as saying, "Oh well, it's just an extra." Like, Jesus dude, you suck. I don't know how else to say this, you just fucking suck. On top of these conditions, they were making constant changes to the script, even on days of filming. It got to the point that the actors just gave up learning their lines. Eventually, Dennis Hopper, who plays President Koopa, got so fed up with them that he spent 3 hours yelling at them. At the same time, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo admitted to showing up to set drunk most days, and Bob Hoskins even had his own nickname for the couple, the and the cow, which is a nickname for sure. Now, obviously they're not the only ones to blame here. There are some issues with the scripts and rewrites and some studio interference, and Nintendo should have had this shit on lock, but by and large, these guys just weren't very good at their job. Eventually, Mario and Luigi are arrested and thrown into a cell with Toad, who looks like this by the way.
Look how they mess with my boy.
And then President Koopa, played by Dennis Hopper, comes along to interrogate them, and he is pissed. He thinks that they have Daisy's rock necklace thing, which they did before it was stolen by this lady. And I just want to say, on behalf of all humanity, damn. Somehow they looked at this fish from the game and turned it into this fucking goddess, and honestly, what a fucking glow up. Realizing they don't have a rock, President Koopa goes from pissed to fucking pissed and takes these guys to his de-evolving chamber so he can, you guessed it, de-evolve them. But first he de-evolves Toad into a Goomba. You know, these cute little mushroom guys from the game. You wanna know what they look like in this movie?
Goomba.
What the fuck? What is even the point? What are we doing here? Seeing this, Mario and Luigi escape without any effort at all, steal a police car, and then go on an iconic Super Mario police chase. Joking aside, I actually kind of fuck with this scene. It's not Mario by any degree, but it's fun, wacky 90s action turned up to 20. And there's just something so charming about that. They end up in the desert where the only people who were able to catch up to them were Iggy and Spike, who they immediately tie up because they're a bunch of bumbling buffoons. Iggy and Spike tell them that President Cooper's plan is to merge the real world and the Mushroom Kingdom by reinserting the rock necklace into the meteor it was chipped off of 65 million years ago. This is the Mario movie. You know, the game where Bowser kidnaps the princess, big turtle, little woman, a little Italian fella, he comes along with his brother Luigi, and then they save the day. That's this. That's this movie. They all come to the agreement that they'll trade Daisy for the rock, but first they have to get it back, and so they track down Big Bertha to this nightclub in Dino Hatton. Once at the nightclub, Mario tries to trick Bertha into getting the rock back by dancing with her. I genuinely feel so bad for Bertha in this scene because the whole time Mario is just trying to get the necklace while she's genuinely enjoying his company, and then when Mario gets the necklace and dips, she looks so upset. Like he is just using her, and then it gets even worse when a bunch of Goombas show up. Mario loses the rock anyway, and she still helps them escape. Bertha, you do not need him, he needs you. Prioritize yourself. Anyway, they use these bouncy shoes to jump out of there, and the Goombas and President Cooper's evil wife henchman lady makes it out of there with the rock. So finally, the Mario brothers just cut their losses and head straight to Koopa Tower for Daisy, who is still in this movie by the way, but first they need a disguise to get in, and their disguises are the game-accurate costumes. Fucking finally. I actually do quite like the costumes here. They're not perfect, but for the 90s and by this movie's standards, they're not half bad. And for once I can actually look at these two and think, Mario Brothers. While they're looking for Daisy, she's busy being given an evil speech by Koopa's evil henchman lady, who's decided to betray him and use the rock for herself.
I like this room, don't you? It used to be my office.
Did she just forget her line?
I like this room, don't you?
They left that in the fucking movie? What is this movie? Who gives a shit? Yoshi actually acts like Yoshi for once and uses his tongue to knock her to the ground so Daisy can escape, and while she's running away, she runs into Iggy and Spike, who are good guys now, keep up. Koopa ends up stealing the rock back, Mario and Luigi dick around some more before stumbling onto Daisy, then they split up again, Luigi and Daisy get captured, Mario finds a bunch of kidnapped women, including his girlfriend from the beginning of the movie, remember her? Then he escapes with them down a drain pipe and into the streets where everyone else is, for some fucking reason. If that sounded like a lot all at once, it is. I'm sorry. This movie is an absolute mess. I'm trying my best here, I swear. Honestly, the rest of this movie's climax is a complete mess. Like, just a full 20 minutes of nonsense, and not in the good way, so I'll just try and sum it up the best I can. Koopa starts bragging about how he's gonna rule the world, giving Mario a chance to shoot him with a bullet bill and giving his evil hench lady a chance to grab the rock and run for the meteor. Luigi tries to stop her, but she gets away with it anyway, just straight up dying in the process, oh my god. All the while, Mario is still fending off Koopa when the real world and the Mushroom Kingdom start merging.
Look! It's Koopa's tower!
Oh. Oh god. So the second blue shell has hit the tower. But this only lasts for about 5 seconds before Daisy and Luigi undo it, sending everyone back to Dino Hatton, making Bowser beyond pissed. And then Mario and Luigi blow him up using a bob-omb, which is actually really cute. And then de-evolve him into primal goo and save the day. Jesus fucking Christ. So this movie isn't good, and I don't feel like I really have to explain why. As a movie in and of itself, it's fine, and as an adaptation of the games, did they even look at the box art? The likeness to the original source material is so loose you could fit a fucking truck through it. You can't even make the excuse of there not being enough source material to adapt, because by the time this movie came out, Super Mario World was already 3 years old. Hell, we were just as close to Super Mario 64 as we were to Super Mario World. There are no excuses. And all of this almost feels like it was on purpose. One of the directors spoke about how they wanted this movie's story to be the real version and how he wanted the game's story to be the weird version. Which feels like the worst way to approach an adaptation. You're not here to replace or erase the original version. You're here to try a genuine approach at making your own version of it or adapting it into a new medium, not scrubbing the plate clean and doing whatever you want. On release, the movie bombed, only making back around $20 million, less than half of its roughly $50 million budget. Even the people who took part in the movie look back at it with a kind of stink. Before Bob Hoskins passed away, he was asked about the movie and all he had to say was, "It was a fucking nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. It had a husband and wife team directing whose arrogance had been mistaken for talent. After so many weeks, their own agent told them to get off the set. Fucking nightmare, fucking idiots." So with even the starring actor having this much disdain towards the film, it's clear that it's not exactly a work of art. Let's be honest, no one ever really thought that this would be better than the new one. But I don't think that means that we should look back at it purely with a stink in our eye. To be honest, going into this I expected to hate this movie, but I honestly find it charming as fuck.
You've gotten it wrong 5 times.
0 for 5, 0 for 5. What percent is that?
I don't know. Let me think.
Don't get me wrong, it's not good, but it's just so charming, you know? That's the only way I can really think to describe it. It's just got so many 90s quirks shoved into it, like this would never be made today. You'd never see a woman get into a van with a weird guy hitting on her and his middle-aged Bob Hoskins brother in 2024. It just makes this movie feel so innocent and it makes hating on it so hard. The best way I can think to describe this movie is like it's a really ugly baby. You can't hate it because it's a baby, but it's also just really ugly. And in the same vein, Mario 2023 feels like a suck-up toddler. It's a lot cuter and a lot more well-behaved than the baby, but my god, it will not shut up about it. So yeah, the Mario movie is exactly like a child. You have them, you love them, you never stop wondering about how different your life would have been if you pulled out. Subscribe. I'm so burpy today and I don't know why.